Hey, this is Erica from Ever Educating, and if you're looking for more extensive resources, if you're a first-time college instructor, then today's video is for you. My channel is all about teaching tips, advice, edit tutorials, etc. But perhaps you want something more extensive, something a bit more structured than the hundreds of videos that I have on this channel. And so today I thought I'd go over a few courses in Coursera that might appeal to you if, again, you're new to teaching and you're feeling uncertain. Then these are free courses that you can take to get more of, a sense of the theory, a sense of ideas for what you can do in your classroom based off of different topics, right? So assessment, lesson planning, communication with students, etc. So let's go ahead and dive into these options. I'm using the Coursera app on my iPad in order to show you how to find these classes to take. There is an online version as well on laptops or computers, but again, at this point, I'm just using the app here. And so as you can see on the bottom, there's some various options. And so my preference is to go ahead and go straight to search to look up specific concepts tied to teaching. However, there obviously are other options of how you can approach this. If there are topics at the top that you can look through to see if anything in particular strikes you as tied to your particular courses. So are you teaching language learning? Are you teaching social sciences, physical, engineering, etc.? Then you might decide to go through these topics first and see if you can learn more about your own field, or if there's any classes tied directly to teaching this type of content. There obviously are suggestions as well of ways to, where to go here. UX design, for example, project management, etc. But again, you can go through and see the various options here. Are you looking to transition to a different career? Here's some options here. If you go to the Learn, you can see your own courses and how you're progressing through them. But here's a search. And so the first thing I suggest you do is go ahead and search teaching. You'll see it pops up various types of suggestions for you. But I recommend, if the goal is to become a better college instructor more generally because you're new to it and you want more help, then just look up teaching and you'll see here quite a few options. There's over 1,000 results. So my suggestion is just looking through the titles. So things to look for. Look through the titles. Look to see the different institutions who are creating the courses and offering the courses. How long are the courses? The reviews, right? So what's the rating? And is it beginner, mixed, intermediate, advanced, etc.? So there's a lot of things to potentially consider when choosing which classes to look at. And these can be your first step since all that information appears on this first page. You can also filter on the top right here. And if you feel like I'm looking for beginner information, then you can make sure that's the only thing that you find. I'm looking for whole courses, or I'm looking for a certificate, so you kind of just go through here and you can filter more so if you'd like. But again, thinking generally, something to consider. So you'll notice on the top of each option, each course, so you see in this first one, Foundations of Teaching for Learning, being a teacher. That's by the Commonwealth Education Trust. Versus the next one, Innovative Teaching with ChatGPT, that's by Vanderbilt. And you keep going. University of London, back to Commonwealth, the University of Sydney. And so, in this case, you might decide that you want to test out different universities or institutions that are providing courses to see which style fits best for you. Or you might decide, okay, I want to have commonality. I'm going to look through the Commonwealth Education Trust ones first and go through there and look for that yellow box, right, to see which ones are tied to that particular university. Because again, that's more clearly tied together than going between different institutions. So if you're someone who wants that really structured and organized, I want a whole program created by one institution about teaching, then look for that similar icon throughout this search. But again, you might decide, okay, well, for all I know, the first one I choose might not be the best style for me. So there might be more benefit to doing, okay, I'm going to try 2 or 3 of these different types of institutions, realize, okay, this third one is actually the style that works best for me. Now let me see what they have to offer through their institution. So it's something to consider. Of course, you might just go by the title, right? So if you see here, Foundations of Teaching for Learning, being a teacher, It's, mixed. So I'm assuming that means, between beginner, intermediate, and advanced students. It's 1 to 3 months. It has 4.6 stars. So you might decide, okay, maybe that's where I want to start. Or if you look through here, right, you might think something more specific would benefit you more, because Foundations of Teaching for Learning, if you go in here, something you can see more information. You'll notice that it's part of a series of courses. It's the second of 9. It tells you the skills you'll gain. But what I want you to really focus on here is the syllabus for these courses, because it'll tell you what exactly is happening in each week. So in this case, it's week 1 through 6. And, looking at these titles, you can open it up and find more information, but this seems very beginner to me. So I'd probably, if you've been teaching for a little bit at least, maybe you want to start from scratch here, but you might be better off looking through for something more specific. So for example, Get Interactive, Practical Teaching with Technology. Well, maybe you feel like one of your weaknesses is using tech in the classroom. So if you go here and you look through, it's only 3 weeks, and what's happening here: multimedia, production of content, formative assessment, and feedback. Now that seems a lot more practical than that first course is. So you want to really go through and get a sense of, okay, what is, included in each of these weeks. If it sounds up your alley, then you can go ahead and enroll. If you keep going, right, so you're going to teach online. Maybe you've been teaching in person for years, but now you're going to go teach some online courses and you want to get more familiar with that. So again, you can click here and you can see if this might be up your alley. So the skills that you'll gain, but again, what's happening in each week. So this is my approach to this. Now, the first one I chose to filter for is teaching. So it'll give you a large range. So as you can saw, right? So some are like very beginner. Then there's one that's tied to technology, teaching online. Here's one about curriculum creation. So maybe you're someone who's struggling with lesson planning. That can be right up your alley then. Are you teaching English as a second language? Then you might look for TESOL or ELL as the search term rather than teaching. If you're someone who, I know my material, I know how to create strong curriculum, my problem is I struggle with developing relationships with students, well, then maybe this one is up your alley instead, the developing relationships. And so again, if you click in here, you can see, well, what exactly does it offer as far as developing relationships here? Okay, so you have teacher-student, colleagues and school leaders, parents, etc. Okay, well, I teach at a university, so parent involvement isn't really going to be a major aspect to me, right? But you can go through here and see, well, if this is going to be very K-12 specific, maybe it's not for me. Let me look for another one that's about creating relationships, right? So teaching character and creating positive classrooms. Maybe that one might work better here. Let's keep on going, right? So uncommon sense teaching. That sounds pretty interesting, right? So you can go in here and you can see, what's that about? Here's things you'll gain: active learning, social emotional learning, online teaching, neurodiversity. That sounds pretty interesting. And again, you have the breakdown of what you'll find. There are 3 courses in the specialization. So you can kind of look through them and see if they all seem to be something that you want to go and approach to learn more about your teaching and how to improve as a teacher. So again, over 1,000 results. So then at this point, if you're like, okay, this is too much, I'm overwhelmed with how many courses I want to take, then you might go a bit more specific. So again, maybe you're someone who's teaching TESOL or English language learners. You might want to look for specifically courses tied to ELL, right? So lesson planning with ELL in mind is the second one here. Engaging ELLs and their families in the school and community, assessing achievement. So this is great for someone who knows, okay, well, I'm doing, these are the majority of my students are ELL students. You might find, okay, I'm new to online teaching, so maybe rather than searching for teaching, you specifically look for online teaching. And so now, again, it'll have narrowed that down quite a bit. The results are now 288. So this, Coursera is definitely a place to go if you're looking for a lot of structured information. And obviously you make of it what you will. If you go into these courses, you can go ahead and just take them, or you can take some of them for a certificate. You have to pay for those. So I tend to use this as a free tool. I just do the free option of gaining information and doing the assignments, taking part in discussions. But the only time I've paid for a certificate for completing a course was tied to instructional design, because I was making that transition in my career. So, I haven't gone over much detail here, but
At the top here, it'll tell you if it's 100% online, all the flexible deadlines or not, what level you're at, and then the languages it's taught in. So definitely something to consider. And you can see different options for similar courses depending on what you choose as well.
If you're going to stick to watching YouTube videos as well, alongside potentially some of these courses, I have some relevant ones linked below in the description. If you'd rather have one-on-one conversations with me about your lesson planning or your teaching ideas, I'll go ahead and link my consult call service below as well. And if you have your own suggestions for what courses to take, go ahead and share them in the comments. Click like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time with a new video. If you haven't subscribed yet, I welcome you to do so if you're someone, again, who is interested in gaining teaching ideas and advice for college instructing.